All right. So welcome. First in September. That's a little bit shocking for some of us. If you're like me, you still feel that we should be sometime in June based on how time slowed down when we entered quarantine. But here we are. We're already 2/3 of the way through the year. And so in this last quarter of the year, think about what you're hoping to accomplish. Think about what you can accomplish and make sure that you're doing everything that you can to start today. There's no need to wait for January 1st. There's no need to wait for the holidays or wait until the end of the quarter. We should be doing all that we can to take steps towards where we want to be starting today. Just start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. And that will be putting you in a good position to eventually achieve your goals. I do want to thank those of you who reached out to me, including DeMarco, including Chelsea, about the grades. So you should see that in Canvas you do have a grade because you've been completing some assignments there. But in Power School, we're having some technical glitches, and the grades are not transitioning from, they're not transferring from Canvas to Power School. So what that means is that I'm probably going to have to go in and do them manually, which is just going to take some time. But you should see that the grades should be on par with each other by tomorrow. Of course, we will have more assignments on Power School because not all of our assignments have been on Canvas. And you should be able to go into Power School right now and see that some of your assignments have been marked complete or missing. And so that's going to be a good way for you to just make sure that you are up to date with all of your work. So be patient with me. Give me like 24 more hours and your grades will be up to date. Any more questions on that? Okay. So today is September 1st, which means that today is the day that we were supposed to have everything due, and we were going to take one more quiz to wrap up Unit 1. However, in discussions with the other two biology teachers, Ms. Fields and Ms. Baxley, we've decided that we want to do one more day, have this day be used as a day for review. You all will take that quiz tomorrow, and all of your work is now scheduled on Canvas to be due tomorrow, September 2nd by 11:59 p.m. So you get a little bit of an extension. Hopefully that helps some of you out who may have been feeling a bit crunched for time. Maybe you have other assignments due in other classes. So this gives you a little bit more time to do the assignments in biology. And it also gives us an opportunity to make sure that we're connecting all of these concepts and wrapping up the unit by doing a couple of review activities. So the objective for the day, biologists will be able to analyze the importance of the 4 biological molecules by reviewing from the last week of content. So everything that we've done over the last 7 days really should be wrapped up today, and you should be in a good place going into tomorrow to ace that assessment. The essential question for the day, why are all 4 biological molecules necessary for all living organisms? You really should have the tools to answer that question already, but if not, we're going to catch you up a little bit. And if you feel that if you know that you've missed one of the lessons from previous days, please make sure that you're going back and looking at that day's live session. Of course, you can skip through it if there are parts of it that just seem to go on, or if you're just looking for specific slides to take notes. But please at least make sure that you're going back to get some of those added notes that you may have missed. And that's why we record all of our sessions, so that I can then go back and upload them to your Canvas page. All right. So in review, we know that there are monomers and there are polymers. Monomers are also known as building blocks, and they're also known as subunits. So you need several monomers to create a polymer. Each of our 4 macromolecules, each of our 4 biological compounds is a monomer. Is a polymer. So they each have their own specific monomer. For example, carbohydrates is one of our biological compounds. Its monomer is the monosaccharide. Lipids are another class of biological compounds. Those monomers are glycerol and 3 fatty acids. So each monomer corresponds to a specific polymer. They're paired up. What that means is that I cannot create a carbohydrate from amino acids. I cannot use nucleotides to create a lipid. I need to use the specific monomers, which are on the left side of your screen, to create a specific polymer. They're paired up for a very important reason. Okay, so the other takeaway from this slide is that you should see these words and have some things going in your head. So let me ask you all, when you see, just give me a random word that comes to mind when you see something on the slide. So for example, when I see monosaccharide, I think of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in a 1:2:1 ratio. So someone else give me a random fact that comes to mind when you see one of these words that we've talked about over the last week. Thank you for saying no, Fanique. I know what you were answering. So can someone take themselves off of mute and just give me a word or a phrase that comes to mind when they see those words that are on your screen?
When I see carbohydrates, I think of energy.
Excellent, Brian. That's a good one. Joseph, you have something for us?
I just forgot.
You forgot it? Okay, so Brian says energy when he sees carbs, but energy can also be applied to lipids too. So that's a good one. Thank you, Brian. Anybody else?
When I see proteins, I think of energy.
Okay, now we want to be careful with that because we know that we need to be eating proteins for the health of our body, but proteins are not actually what are providing our bodies with energy. So we need to, I know that's something that we've thought about, just based on how we've grown up and what we're told to eat. But carbs and lipids are the 2 things that provide our bodies with energy. Joseph, do you have something?
When I think of lipids, storage.
Okay, lipids provide energy storage, like fats and waxes. That's how we store energy in our bodies. Anybody else? Okay. So if you can start to look at these words and make connections between them and say, these are similar and these are different. And if you can look at these words and already you can think of examples of each one. So when I look at carbohydrate, I can think of the example of sucrose or starch. When I look at nucleic acids, I can think of the examples DNA and RNA. If you can start to make these connections, then you are in a great place going forward. But if nothing is coming to mind when you look at these words, then you still have a little bit of review to do. And that's okay. And that's why we are doing this extra day. But at this point, based on the notes that you've taken, based on the assignments that you've completed, and based on the videos that you've watched, you should be able to create some of these organic connections between these terms. We also know that in biology and in most other sciences, shape determines function. So shape is extremely important. So we see 4 structures here on our screen, and we can tell that they have unique shapes. Can we identify what each of them is? So a nucleotide, can someone tell me which one of these diagrams represents a nucleotide? Is it top left, top right, or bottom right? Which one is a nucleotide? Hopefully we have our notes out and we can just refer back and get some hints from our notes.
What was the question?
Which of the 4 diagrams on your screen right now represents a nucleotide?
The top left,
And how did you know that, DeMarco?
because I remember from yesterday, and I got notes.
Okay, good, excellent. So he's got a little bit of memory working, but that memory is also supported by his notes. So he's 100% right. That top left diagram is a nucleotide. One way that I can kind of remember this is because nucleotides have 5 elements. They have the most elements of the 4 monomers. They have phosphorus, they have nitrogen, and then they have the 3 basic that everybody has: carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So the phosphorus and the nitrogen are what make nucleotides unique. And I can see those both. I know it might be difficult for you all to see on your screen, but I can see those both represented here. Here's phosphates. That's the phosphate group. And here's a nitrogenous base. So there's your nitrogen. So that's a big hint that that's a nucleotide. Can someone tell me which of the 3 remaining diagrams is a monosaccharide? Keep in mind, monosaccharides are sugars, and most sugars are made up of carbon rings. They're made up of rings of carbon.
Bottom right.
Okay, good guess.
Bottom left.
It's the bottom left. Thank you. I'm not sure who said that, but whoever it was, thank you so much. It is the bottom left. Okay, so that one's a little bit more tricky because we did not look at that specific diagram in the past. But like I said, sugars are made up of carbon rings. So when you see a carbon ring, you should be thinking about a sugar, which is a monosaccharide or a polysaccharide. Okay, the amino acid. Which of the 2 remaining diagrams is the amino acid? Or really, it's a chain of amino acids. Nope, no guesses. You have a 50% chance of getting it right. There are only 2 diagrams left.
The
Oh
bottom.
wait, no, it's top right.
It's the bottom right. It's the bottom right. Okay, so that one's tricky because it's hard to actually represent a single amino acid in an image, especially based on the level of biology that we're in this class. But in the bottom right, we've got a chain of many amino acids. Okay, so amino acids, of course, are used to make proteins. We could call proteins polypeptide chains. That's another name for them. So, of course, that leaves only one diagram. Your top right, that's your glycerol backbone and 3 fatty acid tails. So remember, that looks like a capital E. It looks like a capital E. So what we can see here is, here's your backbone, and here are parts of the backbone that go out. So there's your capital E. Those are your 3 fatty acid tails. So familiarize yourself with these monomers. That's going to take you a long way if you know what they look like, and give yourself some specific hints so that you don't have to work so hard to get the answer. So much about being a good student is not about being the smartest, and it's sometimes not even about working the hardest. It's about finessing. It's about giving yourself an easy way to remember things, giving yourself an easy way to organize your thoughts, and giving yourself an easy way to communicate. So what I think of, again, that glycerol backbone and 3 fatty acid tails, I might not know exactly what the chemical structure looks like, but I know it looks like a capital E. And everybody knows what a capital E looks like. So there it is right there. With the nucleotide, again, I might not know what the chemical structure looks like, but I know that it has phosphorus and nitrogen. So there's my phosphorus and there's my nitrogen. So that must be the nucleotide. So becoming a good student is about finding ways to finesse. And trust me, that'll take you a long way. It's not about taking the short way out or the easy way out. It's just about making things a little bit easier on yourself, because you all know as students, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot of work to be done. Just make it a little bit easier on yourself so that you can be more efficient. Okay, the Kahoot was not working earlier, so we're just going to play 2 quizzes games. Oops, okay. Give me 1 second. Okay. I'm sending the chat to the link. You can use that chat to go directly to our first quizzes. So you all should be joining this quizzes game. You can either use the link that I sent to the chat, or you can go to joinmyquiz.com and enter the game code that's on your screen, 835780. 8357880.
Hey, Mr. Real, I'm about to leave.
I thought you said 1245.
I gotta take a shower.
Okay. Just make sure that you have all of your Unit 1 assignments done by tomorrow.
I got you.
Okay. Let me see, Alyssa.
Where's the code at?
The code is directly, it should be on your screen. If you can see my screen, then it should be on your screen. But it is 835780. And Alyssa, check again. I'm sorry, I just forgot to upload it to the module, but it should be there now. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Okay, I've got 14 people, but there are 19 of you in the chat. So 30 more seconds to join our game if you're planning on doing that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start the game for folks.
Yeah. They try to send for me, envy and jealousy. It's everything I wish upon my enemies. All that for them, right back at them. What my mind keeps telling me, I hear everything. I don't ask if it's all there, cause it better be. Trust me, it better be. No long talking and settling. Jizzle never won no wrestling, but he's on a big belt medal ting. Streets unruly. More life for my brothers trying to better things. All my men are running to the money, who be running like high. And all my men are running from them holes in the roads like whoa, whoa, whoa. Like whoa. A month ago you didn't wanna know, but now I'm seeing though these guys they be calling off my phone. All these men and they blow.
I think I'll play with the music.
Trying to keep
Okay, so it looks like most of you are done at this point. I know some of you are still wrapping up, and that's fine. But I want to go ahead and start the other game. So that one, the one you just played, was specifically about enzymes. And if you're still working on that one, no worries. Continue to do that. But for the rest of you, let's play one more game. This one is just about biological compounds in general. I will share the link to the chat. Oh, something's happening. Okay. So you can click on the link that I just sent to the chat, and it will take you directly to the game to join us. For those of you still working on the enzymes game, keep going.
We doing a new one or something?
Yes, we're doing a second one. So while people finish up the biological compounds quizzes, I just want to briefly look at some of the takeaways from the enzymes quizzes. Our class average was 59%. So that's about 20 percentage points away from where we want to be with an 80%. But that's okay. The concept of enzymes is new to you all. We've only talked about it for 2 days, and you still have some reviewing to do. I do want to shout out Makyron and Alyssa and Joseph and Brian and Nick and Jessica, all of whom got above 80%. This is not going in the grade book, but Makyron and Alyssa did get 100%. So that's awesome. They got every question right. Let's look at the specific questions that were the hardest for us. Question 16. Question 16 asks you to identify, this is that same, we did struggle with this yesterday, so this is kind of funny. But question 16 asks you to identify letter B. And letter B, of course, would be the substrate. We talked about that yesterday for about almost 10 minutes. So if you're a little bit confused about that diagram, please make sure you go back and watch that portion of yesterday's lesson in which it'll break down that specific part of it'll break down that specific diagram for you. We also struggled with the other question that's related to that diagram. It asks to identify letter E. Letter E is the products. Of course, the products are what you are left with. It's what you produce throughout the course of the chemical reaction. Okay, so we struggled with that diagram. Definitely need you all to go back and look at that. Okay, let's see the other game. How are we doing there? Almost everyone's done with the other game. Okay. But we did well on most of the enzyme questions. That was a true or false question, basically. Good. All right, so it seems like you all grasp the basic concept of enzymes. It might help you to, again, look at that diagram, which seems to be something that we've struggled with, even though you all correctly identified D as the enzyme. And then look at some of the characteristics of enzymes. So what is a substance called if it speeds up a chemical reaction? That would be a catalyst. That's the other end. Based on the graph, what temperature does this enzyme work best at? So it's going to be the temperature where the graph is the highest. So the graph is the highest right there at 30 degrees Celsius. That tells you that the enzyme is working best. So we still have to review some of those concepts, some of the graphing concepts a little bit. And I see most of you are finishing up with the second quizzes. But if you are not done with the second, or if you are done with the second quizzes, then your task now during the A section of class is to complete all of the Unit 1 work and then review your notes. If you have questions while you review, of course, I will still be here on mute. But this is how you should be using your time for the rest of the class. That exit ticket, in my last class, people had some technical difficulties with it. So if you're not able to complete that exit ticket, that is okay. But for the rest of the Unit 1 work, please do try to go ahead and knock that out.
Mr. Rod,
Yes.
when I went to that exit ticket, it said everybody said I had a 0 out of 5. I didn't even take the test.
Yeah, I know the exit ticket. I don't. Something's wrong with that one. It has technical issues, so don't worry about it.
All right. What do we do out the exit ticket?
If you have already done all of your Unit 1 work, then just review for the quiz tomorrow. Just check your notes. But otherwise, make sure if you still have some assignments to do, then use the next 20 minutes to knock those out.
All right.
Hey, so Mr. Rudd, this is my kind. I couldn't find out how to like submit my assignments, like with the word thing we did about the carbs and the lipids. I couldn't figure out how to submit that to you.
The word thing with okay. So you probably haven't created your biology Google folder, so you have to do that first. Once you create your Google folder and then you share it with me, all you need to do is drop your assignments into that folder, and that's how you submit them to me. So a lot of you, if you go in right now and look at your Power School, you'll see there's an assignment there that says biology Google folder. If that comes up as missing, then that means several of the other assignments you haven't done yet either, just because you need to submit them through the biology Google folder. So that's an important assignment. If you haven't done that yet, then that should be what you spend your time doing right now. And it shouldn't take you long. Okay, folks, it is 1:20, so you are good to go. Please make sure that if you have any issues completing any assignments between now and tomorrow, that you reach out and ask questions. I will be responsive as possible, and you will see changes in Power School between now and tomorrow as well. So complete the assignments, do some review, and you will be good to go. Have a good day. I will talk to you tomorrow.
All right, would you? Thank you.
You're welcome.